On a particularly wintry afternoon in Melbourne, Australia, I was sitting at my desk, working, of course, when my product manager DM'd me. Obviously, I leapt out of my chair, sprinted down the hallway, through the technicians' tables, and straight to where we keep our fans in the warehouse. I searched amongst the 10,000 strong army of Lian-Li fans of all makes, models, and versions. And what I found was incredible.
Now, it's no doubt that Lian-Li fans are some of the most popular and prestigious in the PC world. They brought daisy chaining and interlocking to the mass markets, and they command a pretty penny for a pretty fan. They've got heaps of variants now. They've got the AL, the SL, the SL-Infinity, the TL, the TL.
All this TL, SL stuff, try and shorten it.
I'm trying to express how confusing it is though. They've got like different sets. Like for example, if you want the reverse fan blade variant of the SL-Infinity, specifically, you can't get them in a pack of 3. You have to get them in a pack of 1. And for some reason, the packs of 1 come with a connection that connects to the motherboard instead of to a hub, like the rest of their systems.
You've just said everything you needed to say.
Now, I've personally got a bunch of Lian-Li fans in my builds, and trying to find the right one for each build was a nightmare. I would not recommend it. 0 out of 10. It was terrible. But when I saw these fans, the Interstellar V2 interlocking ARGB PWM infinite mirror fans by Leopard, or this brand, I was stunned, flabbergasted, and mourned the loss of my hard-earned coin. Here in Australia, for a fraction of what Lian-Li's asking, you can get this set of 3 Interstellar fans for $50, 50 Australian dollars. They are also interlocking, daisy chainable, and have the same RGB effects as the $150 SL-Infinities that Lian-Li sells. If you see me sweating, it's because I've been going up and down these stairs trying to get over how ridiculously these are priced. So what's the deal here then? Is Lian-Li just flexing its market dominance to push whatever prices it wants onto its products? Do these clones offer a similar, if not equal, experience to a product 3 times its price? Well, the answer isn't so clear-cut. It never really is. So let's explore it together. I'm stuck. I managed to peel myself off the ground, but before we start exploring anything, you need to know that neither Lian-Li nor Leopard has sponsored us, paid us, endorsed us, or anything to us to make this video. In fact, I don't think either of them know we're making this video. Now, I really like Lian-Li's stuff. I really like Lian-Li as a brand, but you know what I also really like? Having more money in my pocket. There are 2 beasts inside of me. They are fighting for dominance. And between those 2, I think we can make this video as impartial and unbiased as possible. So let's go. While we don't condone or endorse intellectual property theft, clones and copycats in this industry are unavoidable at this point, and honestly, I think they're maturing as a whole. Beyond copyright morality, I think having these cheaper alternatives on the market is an overall good thing. It affords the consumer more choice and options when building out their dream system, irrespective of the prohibitive prices on premium and proprietary products. Sometimes even just products that you really like the look of, but it's just a bit too expensive to justify. Shazam! You don't have to justify it anymore. You can just buy it and enjoy it. Now, I have more to say about this copycat copying design thing later on in the video. I have this dread building in my sternum that if I don't get to the fans soon, I'm gonna get lynched. So let's get started for reals. What I can only describe as involuntary homework copying, these fans have a unmistakable resemblance to each other, to a point where on first, second, third glance, it's pretty hard to tell which is which. So you think you can tell them apart. All right, boom, the lights are off. Tell me you can still tell them apart. Tell me you're able to immediately discern which is which based off nothing but the RGB. It is actually ridiculous how much inspiration they took from the Lian-Li fans. They're both 7-bladed with translucent fan blades that are illuminated with RGB. Also illuminated are the center and side infinity mirrors. So the RGB strip inside the infinity mirrors on the Lian-Lis are actually a bit thinner, which gets you a deeper feeling infinity mirror effect, whereas on the Interstellars they're thicker, which actually makes the individual infinity repeats a little bit
more pronounced. The side infinity mirrors are also designed differently. The Lian-Li's have a taper at the end of it that is wrapped in metal embellishments, whereas on the Interstellars, the infinity mirror is actually edge to edge. Then there's the RGB strip that runs the perimeter, of which they are basically identical. The backsides of these fans are also ridiculously similar. They have a near identical pattern for the beams. They are a bit different. The Lian-Li beams are a bit thinner and more chiseled, whereas it's very flat and thick on the Interstellars. The Lian-Li hides the cable behind one of the thick stalks, whereas it's exposed on the Interstellars. You also do get a very nice metal logo on the back of the Lian-Li fans, where it's just a black sticker with some voltage information and RPM stuff. The Lian-Li's also have bigger rubber feet that run the entire corner, whereas on the Interstellars, it's just a little strip that runs here. All in all, they look ridiculously similar. From certain angles, I would say they look identical, but when you pick them up, that's where you're able to tell the difference. See, the texture of the plastic used in these fans are really quite different. The Interstellars feel like the scratchy plasticky bits on a cheap car, definitely a less premium material than what the Lian-Li is using. I asked some of my colleagues around the office, and we almost always agreed that the Lian-Li's felt heavier, denser, and had a substantiality to them that the Interstellars just lack. But from a distance and not in their hands, everyone was really surprised at the price difference considering just how similar they looked. In fact, I made it a bit. Here's what some of the warehouse staff thought about these fans with no context.
Which one of these two fans do you think is the more expensive one?
Just by looking at them?
Just by looking at them.
The one on the left.
The one on the left?
That one.
That one's more expensive?
Yeah, in my opinion.
I guess it's this one, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe this one's more expensive?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So it looks better.
The one on the right.
The one on the right looks more expensive?
Yes.
I think this one.
That one's more expensive? We got another one.
Yeah.
The interlocking method is another point of difference. The Lian-Li fans use pogo pins as the male connector that retract when pushed into place and connect with the gold connectors on the female connection. The Interstellar fans are done through a much more traditional method, similar to normal connectors where you have protruding pins on the male side that slot into respective connectors on the female side. And this connecting method is definitely more prone to breakage and bending. It's always a little bit anxiety inducing when I'm connecting these fans because I'm just so used to the Lian-Li ones that this feels really jank in comparison. But as long as you line the feet up, you're not really going to have any trouble. Both of these are very easy to take apart and put back together, so no real hardships here. Connection-wise, the Interstellar fans go straight into the motherboard ARGB header. It helps you avoid so many headaches with hubs and wires and all that with the Lian-Li systems. Now, I've personally had a lot of wacky experiences trying to connect my Lian-Li fans up. The RGB not syncing, the L-Connect software being jank, firmware for fans not updating and causing troubles. In the end, I always got it working, but it would take hours and hours of forum crawling, YouTube tutorials to get things working. After all that, all the kerfuffling and stumbling around, it made me wonder whether the time and effort saving benefits of these interlocking fans really saved any time. So let's talk about performance. We strapped both of these fans up to the same radiator to test both the cooling performance and the audibility. And surprisingly, the Interstellars were keeping up pretty well with the SL-Infinities on the Lian-Li Galahad 2. Probably pretty sacrilegious that we strapped clones to the Galahad 2, but in this economy, babes, if it works, it works. And work it did. On the i9-13900K running Cinebench, both fans pin the CPU around 90 degrees Celsius, which is a bit high for my liking, but in terms of raw performance difference, there doesn't seem to be much of an edge for either competitor. Measuring the noise level difference, it's honestly not very noticeable to my ears, but the decibels don't lie. The Interstellar fans run a good 5 to 10 decibels higher than the SL-Infinities, but for a third of the price, I personally don't mind a 10 decibel difference, seeing as how my screaming in Valorant usually tops 100 on a good day.
Now on paper, there is a key spec difference between these fans. The SL-Infinities have a much wider RPM range, going from as low as 200 to 2100, whereas the Interstellar V2s only have a range of about 950 to 1850. This probably won't be a deal breaker for most people, but it will mean that the Interstellars are consistently louder on the lower end, considering you can't pull the RPMs down as far as the SL-Infinities.
Let's be honest here for a second. No one is coming to Lian-Li fans for their raw cooling performance. They're pretty and beautiful and all the other lovely descriptive adjectives, but there's no illusions of superior performance that makes so many flock to Lian-Li fans. In tech power-ups testing, the SL-INF120s ranked pretty low across all benchmarks comparative to other manufacturers offering. They only really got a leg up in terms of noise level, running at 35 decibels in their testing. The ambient noise level inside this studio, inside our office, inside our building is a consistent 40 decibels, and at idle, neither of those fans went over their 40 decibel mark, even when I bought the phone really close to the fans. All things considered, despite my love for Lian-Li, and seriously, I really like Lian-Li, I have 3 PCs in their cases and a good amount of fans spread throughout all those builds. But I think the Interstellars have a pretty good competitive edge over the Lian-Lis considering the price. If you're just using them for airflow and you're on a budget, these will work just fine for you. I would be a bit apprehensive about strapping them to a radiator though. For every item that has a cheaper alternative, you have to consider what that extra money gets you or doesn't get you. Lian-Li, being a bigger company, will always have more robust warranty and customer support systems, but if you're buying these fans off, say, eBay or AliExpress, where they are a little bit cheaper, then you might be out of luck if anything does go wrong. But then again, at 10 Australian dollar roonies a pop, you don't really have much to lose here. If you're not too overly concerned with the hand-feel texture of your fans, then you wouldn't really be missing out on much choosing the Interstellars over the SL-120 Infinities. If you're a gremlin for aesthetics like me, then these fans will work just fine for you. While we do offer a pretty comprehensive catalog of Lian-Li fans, and my product managers would love for us to sell all of them, I think having the cheaper alternative on the market is a good thing for the consumer, as stated before. These fans being what they are, looking how they look, and being priced so ludicrously low makes me happy and hopeful that we'll see people more inclined to make aesthetically pleasing builds even if they're on a budget. While this generation, the Interstellar V2s, were definitely a copycat clone of the Lian-Lis, I ultimately think they were a stepping stone for the company to make something that is more their own. The V3s are completely off the rails, but they're definitely not copying Lian-Li anymore. I think making these fans were essential for the company to develop its own brand identity. And that's it, folks. If you think we missed anything, drop it in the comment below. Thank you very much for watching. It has been a pleasure taking up your precious waking hours. Do consider dropping a like, perhaps even a subscription. But if nothing else, thank you very much for watching again, and we'll see you next time.